Audiobook Academy. Book Summary. Inferno. By Dante Alighieri. As part of the Divine Comedy. Inferno is an epic poem. Around 1307, Dante began writing it, and he finished it just a few years before he died in 1321. The term comedy was used in Dante's day to describe a story with a sorrowful beginning but an upbeat finale. Giotto added the word divine to the title in 1555 to underscore the work's perfection. Dante's depiction of God's wrath in Dante's Nine Circles of Hell is the epic poem's central theme. As a tribute to Dante's beloved Beatrice, Virgil is mentioned in the poem as the person who sent him to rescue Dante from the dark woodland and guide him through hell. Inferno/hell, Purgatorio/purgatory, and Paradiso/heaven make up the three sections of Dante's comedy. The entire work, including the introduction canto, includes 100 cantos, which is the ideal number. Each section has 33 cantos. Because the author's goal is to reach the stars, the final verse of each section concludes with the word stars. In Dante's hell, the smaller the circle, the greater the weight of the sin. A total of 10 ditches and 3 smaller rings split the final 3 circles. There are a total of 4 rounds in the 9th circle and 3 smaller rings in the 7th. To his waist, Lucifer has been submerged in ice. He is depicted as a 3-faced demon, punishing Brutus, Cassius, and Judas for their sins. In 1300, at the age of 35, the poet begins his voyage, which at the time was regarded as the half-life of a human being. Looking for an exit out of this gloomy woodland that embodied evil had left him feeling lost. Gracious, arrogant, and intemperate were the 3 animals that he encountered. In the end, Dante was saved by Virgil, who informed him that he would take him through hell and that he had to walk through hell, purgatory, and heaven. First canto. Dante doubts his ability to undertake such a voyage, but he does. It turns out that Beatrice has sent him to guide Virgil in the correct direction. Second canto. There was a warning placed above the doorway of hell for Virgil and Dante when they arrived. There is a rule that everyone who enters must leave their hopes at the door. They heard a lot of screams of pain. Uncommitted people are the first people they meet. They were swarming with bees and suffering from worms sucking the blood from their limbs as they ran and cried. In the river Acheron, Virgil took Dante to meet Charon, who would take him to the other side of the river and take him to hell. As Virgil said, Charon is leading Dante, the living soul among the dead, on his journey, and he is doing so at the direction of heaven. Virgil took Charon's reluctance to cross the river as a positive sign, as only the souls of the cursed could do so. When the ground began to tremble, Dante fell to the ground. Third canto. Virgil accompanied Dante into the first circle of hell after he awoke on the other side. In accordance with the 7 deadly sins, the circles were arranged. The non-baptized people who lived before Jesus Christ have their souls in limbo, the first of the 7 circles. Vivian, too, was part of the group. People like Noah and Moses were able to depart hell thanks to Jesus' descent into hell. Homer, Horace, Lucan, and Ovid were only some of the notable figures Dante encountered. 7 walled castles are easier to scale, so they transported him there. Aristotle, Socrates, and Caesar were all there. Fourth canto. Minos, who stands in front of the 2nd circle of hell, ties his tail around himself for a certain amount of time and thereby directs the soul to the circle of hell corresponding to their individual misdeeds. There are 2 ways of looking at it. Dante cautions his companion that his life is at danger by entering, and Vivaldi explains that they were sent to this journey by the instructions of heaven. The wind never stops in the 2nd circle. The sinners who succumbed to their lust and committed adultery can be found here. Semiramis and Cleopatra, Achilles and Tristan, and Helena all appear to Dante. Since these sinners found up in hell because of their love, Dante feels pity for them and wants to hear their experiences. Francesca, who fell in love with Paolo Malatesta, the brother of her husband, grants his wish. Her spouse saw them kissing once while they were reading. As a command, he told his men to kill them. Dante passed out from guilt and shame. Fifth canto. We've reached the Slavs in the 3rd ring. Cerberus, the 3-headed gatekeeper of Hades, is torturing them with a rainstorm that never ends. Although he made an effort to block Dante and Virgil, it was only Virgil who was able to free the path. Once in hell, one of the damned sinners noticed Dante and asked him to remember him. Sixth canto. They arrived in the 4th circle of hell, where the Scrooges and the squatters were awaiting their doom. There was a god of wealth named Plutus looking out for them. They were forced to carry a large load. The Scrooges were on one side, while the squatters were on the other. They would have to start from scratch if they ever crashed. Several popes, priests, and cardinals were also in attendance. Hell's fifth ring is located on the Styx River. Punches and bites are exchanged amongst the enraged souls in a muddy river. According to Virgil, the indolent souls are also present, but they are hidden from view by the muck. 7th Canto. Dante and Virgil came to a burning tower surrounded by Styx River. Dis, a city in the lowest section of hell, was being approached by Phleges, who had taken them across the river. After all, the fallen angels were determined to prevent anyone from entering the city. It was even Virgil who couldn't get into the city this time around. 8th Canto. Dante is convinced by Virgil that they can enter the city. A trio of vengeance-seeking furies makes an appearance on screen. They were a hybrid of human and reptilian ancestry. But Virgil hides his eyes and saves Dante from Medusa's wrath. This is where the heretics, those who didn't believe in Pope Benedict XVI's theology or eternal life, were found. 9th Canto. They learned from Farinit's degli Umberti that their punishment is to be able to forecast the future but have no knowledge of the present. The exile of Dante from Florence is predicted by her. Dante and Virgil continue their journey across the sixth circle. Dante is still anxious about the prophecy he heard, but Virgil convinces him that he will learn more when they reach at a better location. 10th Canto. A pope's burial was the best place for Dante to get acclimated to the stench of hell's seventh circle, which Dante found to be unbearable. Last three hells and their division are explained in detail by Virgil. Violence and harm to one's family members or close friends land one in the seventh circle, which is divided into three ring segments. It is in the eighth circle that the most common criminals, fraudsters, and persons who have broken trust are found. In the middle of the circle is a bolgia. Traitors live in this capital, the ninth circle. Troop traitors, country traitors, guest traitors and well-do troop traitors all have a place in this section. The poets make their way to the seventh circle's first ring. 11th Canto. For the fight to begin, they must get out of the way of the Minotaur's anger. First, the violent, who are dipped into the boiling blood river Phlegathon in the first ring. Defenders known as centaurs shoot arrows at those who attempt to swim over the river. Centaur Chiron assaults Dante because he isn't dead, but Virgil tells him to leave Dante alone and provide him a guide so they may cross the river. In it, the names of Alexander the Great, Attila, and Dionysius, among other notables, are mentioned. One by one, the poets make their way to the ring. 12th Canto. Large, black trees line the perimeter of this ring. We can hear people screaming all around us. Sinners were reincarnated as trees and plagued by famished dogs, who ate their flesh. Among them is Pier della Vigna. A good man who was liable took his own life due of the slander. 13th Canto. It is only for those who have transgressed against the laws of nature and the arts that the third ring can be worn. Fire pours down on them relentlessly as they run for their lives. The sinners are all in the same place. Sinning against God is punishable with a lifetime of sand and rain. 14th Canto. It is in the second section of the third ring where individuals who have transgressed against nature find themselves stranded permanently. In one of the sinners, Brunetto Latini, Dante's heroic political acts are predicted. His forecast is rejected by Dante, who says that fate will decide what happens. 15th Canto. After a brief pause, three old friends of Dante approach the poets in the third ring. By their names, Dante is able to tell them apart from the rest of the crowd. 16th Canto. He dives out of the water in front of the third section of the ring. He is a monstrous creature with a human head and a snake's body, as well as two claws. It is Dante's decision whether or not to join Virgil at the entrance. Sodomites are compelled to stand in the rain and carry the remains of their loved ones' graves. As soon as he returns to the entrance, Geryon leads them to the circle of the eighth number. 17th Canto. 10 bulges are depicted as the eighth circle. They're full with the usual scumbags and charlatans. The panderers and seducers who run from one portion of the bulge to another are in the first one. They run into Jason, who was exiled to Creusa as a punishment for abandoning Medea. In the second bulge, they come across people who have been dipped in human feces to be flatterers. 18th Canto. Those found guilty of simony are housed in the third bulge. Their legs were engulfed in flames as they hung precariously from the ceiling. While Pope Nicholas III expresses remorse for his actions, he also asserts that there are worse sinners out there, and that they will face greater penalties. Despite Dante's belief that the Pope earned his punishment, he displays no mercy for him. There are 4 baloney in sight. 19th Canto. First, Dante thought they had no penalty, but then saw their heads had been turned backwards so that their tears would fall on the ground behind them. Due of his sympathy for them, Virgil gave him a stern talking to. He revealed to Dante that the punishment for a sinner who uses forbidden powers to glimpse into the future is to look backwards forever. 20th Canto. Sinners are thrown into boiling pitch in the 5th Bolgia, which is pitch black and filled with falsehoods. Demons Malebranche are keeping them from diving. In spite of the fact that the bridge Dante and Virgil were supposed to cross collapsed exactly 1,266 years and 19 hours ago, the demons allowed them to pass. 21st Canto. If you take bribe, you're in the 5th level. A sinner tells Dante that the guards believe he's making a ruse to get out of punishment by promising to bring all of the Italian sinners from the Bolgia with him. They try to catch up to him, but they get bogged down in the field. It's hard to tell where Dante and Virgil will end up next. 22nd Canto. They are attacked by the enraged demons, but Dante and Virgil escape because the guards cannot move far from their positions. The hypocrites await them in the 6th Bolgia. Wearing lead-base capes and caps, they go around in a circle. There is one individual Dante notices laying on the ground that everyone walks over. It was a Pontius Pilatus priest who performed the miracle. 23rd Canto. Dante and Virgil run into problems as they are forced to follow the perilous route due to the collapse of the bridge. Slithering snakes follow them to the 7th level, where they encounter knave thieves. As one of the sinners made his way back to the church, a snake bit him. In an instant, he went up in smoke, arose from the ashes, and continued to flee the snakes. Angry because Dante observed his humiliation and predicted his political downfall, he was enraged by this. 24th Canto. We see a lot of torture in Dante and Virgil's stories. Snaking about sinners, snakes, for example, become one with the sinners. When a snake bites a man in the stomach, he transforms into a snake, and the snake transforms into a human. 25th Canto. Florence's thief Dante mocks the city that is disreputable even in hell, and he recognizes the sinners as Florence's thieves. There are 8 Bolgia where you can find the phony counselors who are perpetually whirling about in a flame. As a result of the Trojan War, he watches Odysseus and Diomedes get what they deserve. 26th Canto. Someone tries to derail Dante's journey in order to learn more about the condition of affairs in his homeland. For fear that Dante would never return to heaven, he disguised himself as Guido de Montefeltro and was punished for advising on political matters that were untrue. 27th Canto. Discord begins in the 9th Bolgia, where the instigators are located. They are being lashed by demons that cut them in half as they move in a circle. Once the sores on their backs have healed, the torment begins all over again. Also present is the Muslim prophet Muhammad. Italians in this Bolgia warn Dante that he is in for some big accidents. 28th Canto. Here in this section of the 10th Bolgia are forgers who are sick and confined to this section. Scabs cover the sinners in the first section. Dante meets 2 Italians and pledges to deliver their messages to their families if they share their tales with him. In order to explain their presence, they inform him that they were involved in alchemy experiments. They accept. 29th Canto. Sinning people are seen tearing each other apart in the 9th Bolgia's second half. Here is a list of those who have lied about their identity. Money forgers and liars make up a large percentage of those from the 3rd and 4th sections. 30th Canto. Dante and Virgil confront 3 giants, Nimrod, Ephialtes, and Antaeus, as they approach the 9th circle of hell. They stand guard at the entryway, chained and tethered. They are the giants who fought against God and sinned. By holding them, Antaeus makes it easier for them to make it to the final circle. The traitors are ensconced in a frozen lake called Cocytus in the final circle. 31st Canto. There are 4 rounds in the 9th circle. Caina, named after the biblical character who killed his own brother, is the first one in the series. The cowards who betrayed their loved ones have arrived. The killer of Paolo and Francesca, Gianciotto, is also present. Dante observed angry sinners wailing and pounding their chests. 32nd Canto. First round Anti-Nora features the traitors of the country. The Count and the Bishop have arrived. The Bishop accused the Count and his sons of being spies and imprisoned them in the cathedral. He starved them to death so that Ugolino would have to eat the flesh of his own sons. The guests and Ptolemy, the leader of the Third Circle, are both traitors. Only their snouts are visible above the surface of the frozen lake where they are resting. 33rd Canto. As Dante nears the center of hell, he notices a lake filled with drowned sinners. The souls of those who betrayed the good doers were in those bodies. Giudecca is the name given to the last round. At the very bottom, a giant named Lucifer is submerged in the iced lake up to his waist. Judas, Brutus, and Cassius are each represented by one of his 3 large skulls. Each represents one of the greatest sinners in history. The sinners are hacked to bits by Lucifer's mouth, but he never kills them. Dante and Virgil entered purgatory at the end of hell. Dante, author and the main character. His adventure begins when he is 35 years old, which is the halfway point in his life. Every bad thing that stood in his way of reaching God was symbolized by the jungle he got lost in. To atone for his sins, he must pass through a tier-based version of hell. The depravity of the sinners increases in severity. The character of Dante epitomizes all that is wrong with male sexuality. The poet and writer Dante, as well as Dante the character, appear in the epic. Both Dante, the author, and Dante, the narrator, demonstrate a lack of empathy and pity for the sinners they encounter in hell, although their experiences are very different. Virgil, one of the biggest Roman poets. Dante's guide in hell, he symbolizes the human sense. Beatrice entrusted him with the task of pointing Dante in the correct direction. Wisdom and determination are 2 of his numerous qualities. Dante put him in the limb, the first circle of hell, which houses non-baptized souls, or those who lived prior to Christ's crucifixion. Thank you for listening in Audiobook Academy. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button for more content like this. See you in next video.